right, folks, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
This time, we're tackling a big one.
Oh, I like big topics. Let's hear it.
We're talking about the meaning of life.
Wow, starting off strong, huh?
I know, right? And you know me, I'd usually say it's time for a whiskey.
Of course, to get through the heavy stuff.
But I'm going to hold off for now. We've got our expert here to guide us through this philosophical journey.
Absolutely. We're going deep, folks. And I've been doing some research.
Oh, tell me about it. You've got a whole stack of material there, right? A mix of philosophy, science, even some religious stuff.
It's a real intellectual cocktail. We're going to try to distill it all down for you.
Exactly. What does it all mean? Do we even need to spend time thinking about the meaning of life?
No, that's the question, isn't it?
I mean, some days I think I'd rather just enjoy the ride, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah, sometimes I feel the same way. But then again, maybe examining our purpose can lead to a more fulfilling life.
Maybe. But where do we even start? Everyone seems to have a different opinion.
Right. Like Nietzsche was all about creating our own meaning.
Right. And then you've got the existentialists like Sartre who emphasize free will.
So many different takes on what it all means.
And then throw in Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
Self-actualization, love, belonging, all that stuff.
Yeah, and you know what's really fascinating? There's this massive study.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Harvard did it. They followed people for like 85 years, an 85-year study on adult development.
Wow, that's a long study. What did they find?
Well, they found that meaningful relationships are huge EE.
Meaningful relationships? Really?
Yep. Having strong bonds with family and friends, that kind of stuff.
So you're saying all this deep thinking is secondary to just, like, hanging out with your buddies?
Well, it's not quite that simple.
Okay. But seriously, do we really need to analyze all this?
It's a fair question. Not everyone's a philosopher, right?
Exactly.
But I think taking some time to reflect on what matters to us, our values, our purpose.
You think it can make a difference?
I think it can lead to a more fulfilling life, even if it's just a little bit.
Interesting. Okay, I'm listening. What about you, dear listener? What gives your life meaning?
Yeah, what makes you tick? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Your work? Your family? That secret collection of vintage board games?
Whatever it is, we want to know, because it all ties into this big question of self.
Ooh, now we're getting deep. What is the self, anyway?
Right. What is this thing we call me?
I'm all ears. Lay it on me.
Okay, so let's start with biology. We're complex creatures shaped by our genes.
Right, our DNA, all that.
And we're constantly adapting to our environment. Like, think about it. We're talking ecosystems.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
But it's not just about biology. There's psychology, too. Our memories, our experiences.
Right. All that stuff shapes us.
Exactly. You know, psychologist Daniel Kahneman talks about the experiencing self and the remembering self.
The experiencing self. And the remembering self. What's that all about?
So the experiencing self is what you're feeling right now.
Okay, makes sense.
But the remembering self is the one that looks back and creates a story. And they don't always agree.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Like, remember that time I tried that crazy hot sauce challenge?
Yeah.
In the moment, it was pure pain.
Haha, I bet.
But now looking back, I'm like, yeah, I totally crushed it.
Memories can be tricky.
They really can.
But they're a big part of who we are. And we can't forget about philosophy's take on the self.
Oh, yeah, philosophy. What do they have to say?
Well, think about Descartes' famous quote, "I think, therefore I am."
Deep stuff.
It highlights our ability to think, to be aware. That's fundamental to our existence.
Even if everything else is an illusion, our awareness makes us real.
Exactly. And speaking of awareness, you know how researchers study self-awareness in babies?
Babies. Tell me more.
They use something called the mirror test. Around 18 months old, babies start recognizing themselves in the mirror.
So those little humans are already figuring out who they are. It's amazing.
I know, right? Self-awareness is a powerful thing.
And it leads to even bigger questions like, what about consciousness?
Consciousness, the big mystery.
How do all those electrical signals in our brains create this awareness, the sense of me? It's mind-blowing.
It really is. And while science doesn't have all the answers yet,
we're getting closer.
There are some fascinating theories out there, like the neural synchrony theory.
Neural synchrony? Never heard of it.
It's the idea that consciousness emerges from coordinated activity in specific brain regions. Like different parts of the brain are working together to create this symphony of awareness.
The symphony of awareness, I like that.
Right. But then you have other viewpoints, like philosopher Daniel Dennett.
What does he say?
Well, he argues that consciousness is more like an illusion created by the brain's computations.
An illusion? Well, you're saying my whole experience of reality is just a trick.
Well, it's a complex debate, but it shows how much we still don't know about the mind.
That's for sure. Oh, but wouldn't it be great if life came with a spoiler alert?
Haha, yeah, if we could just peek into the future.
No more wondering about our purpose or what's going to happen next.
That would take the fun out of it, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, maybe you're right. But still, how much control do we actually have over our lives?
Well, behavioral genetics research suggests that genes account for about 50% of our personality and behavior.
Okay, so nature plays a role.
The other half comes from our environment and the choices we make.
So it's nature and nurture.
Exactly. We're not just puppets on a string. We have free will. We can choose our path.
That's reassuring. But what if this whole reality is just an illusion?
Like in the Matrix.
Yeah, exactly. What if we're all just living in some simulated world?
That's a question that's been debated for centuries. You've got the realists.
The ones who believe the world is what it seems.
Right. And then you've got the constructivists.
And they believe.
They argue that our perceptions create reality.
So my reality could be different from yours.
It's a possibility. And then things get even weirder when you bring in modern physics.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
The holographic universe theory.
The holographic universe. Oh, okay. You're going to explain that one.
Well, it suggests that our universe could be a hologram projected from a higher dimensional space.
Whoa, my brain hurts.
And there's even a study about quantum entanglement, where two particles are linked even when they're miles apart.
Yeah, spooky action at a distance.
Well, this study suggests that it might be possible to create a holographic representation of a system using entangled particles.
So you're saying our whole universe could be a giant hologram?
It's a mind-bending concept, isn't it?
That's an understatement. Okay, I need a moment to process all of this.
Whew.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
Quantum physics, consciousness, the meaning of life.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is. And we're just getting started.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Well, I think it's time to shift gears a bit. We've talked a lot about the theoretical side of meaning and purpose.
Right, all the big ideas.
But now I want to explore how we actually live those values in our everyday lives.
Okay, I like that. Making it practical.
Exactly. Because it's one thing to philosophize about the meaning of life.
But it's another to actually put those insights into action.
Precisely. So how do we do that? How do we take these abstract ideas and make them concrete?
Well, I think it starts with being more intentional about our choices.
Intentional.
Yeah, like every day we make countless decisions, big and small.
That's true.
And each of those decisions can either move us closer to a life of meaning
or further away from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's about asking ourselves, does this decision align with my values? Does it contribute to my sense of purpose?
I love that. Asking those questions.
And being honest with the answers.
Because sometimes we get caught up in distractions, right?
Totally. We waste time on things that don't really matter.
And we neglect the things that do.
It's so easy to fall into those traps.
But if we can be more mindful.
Mindful of our choices.
Exactly. We can start to create a life that's more aligned with our true selves.
Okay, I'm on board with that. Be more mindful. But how? Where do we even begin?
Well, I think it starts with small steps.
Small steps. Like
instead of spending an hour scrolling through social media.
Ugh, yeah, guilty is charged.
Maybe you choose to spend that time reading a book.
Or going for a walk.
In nature.
Exactly. Or connecting with a loved one.
Okay, those are all good ideas. Simple but powerful.
Right. It's about making those conscious choices.
Shifting our priorities.
And it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
You mean we don't have to become monks or anything?
No, just start with one small change.
And build from there.
Exactly. It's a process, a journey.
Okay, that makes sense. This whole idea of intentional living.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this Japanese concept I read about. Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Yeah, it roughly translates to a reason for being.
Well, it's about finding that sweet spot where your passions, your skills, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for all intersect.
Wow, that's a powerful concept. Finding that perfect alignment.
Right, like where everything just clicks into place.
I love that.
And even if we don't find our perfect ikigai.
I think it's a great framework for thinking about how to live a more purposeful life.
Agreed. And it reminds us that finding meaning isn't just about personal fulfillment.
Oh, absolutely. It's also about contributing to something larger than ourselves.
Making a difference in the world.
Exactly. Because we're all interconnected.
We're part of a web of life.
And our actions have ripple effects.
So true.
Yeah.
Like, even a small act of kindness can have a big impact.
It can brighten someone's day,
And inspire them to pay it forward.
creating a chain reaction of goodness.
I love that image. A chain reaction of goodness.
And when we shift our focus from what's in it for me to how can I make a positive impact?
It opens up a whole new dimension of meaning and purpose.
It really does.
You know, this has been a really eye-opening conversation.
I agree.
But I'm also aware that this whole search for meaning,
It can be challenging.
yeah, even overwhelming at times.
And it can feel lonely.
Like you're the only one struggling with these big questions.
But it's important to remember.
That we're not alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are so many resources available to us. Books, podcasts, therapists, spiritual communities.
People who have walked this path before us.
People who can offer guidance and support.
And sometimes just talking to a friend or family member can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. Just sharing our thoughts and feelings can help us feel more connected.
More grounded.
And less alone.
So, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm curious, what's the biggest takeaway for you?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's the reminder that meaning is not a destination. It's a journey.
A journey, not a destination. I like that.
It's about the choices we make, the actions we take, the connections we forge.
And it's a journey that's full of twists and turns.
Absolutely. Ups and downs.
Moments of clarity.
And moments of confusion.
But it's all part of the process.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay to not have all the answers, to embrace the messiness of it all.
Exactly.
And to find joy in the journey.
It's a journey we're all on together.
And you know what? It's making me think about the future.
Oh, yeah. The future of meaning.
Yeah, like how will all this stuff we've been talking about, consciousness, reality, purpose, how will it all be affected by new technologies?
That's a fascinating question. We're already seeing the impact of technology on our lives.
Right. Social media, artificial intelligence, all that.
But what about things like brain-computer interfaces?
Whoa. Yeah. Imagine being able to directly connect our minds to computers.
Or virtual reality experiences that feel indistinguishable from real life.
It's mind-blowing. And a little scary, too, to be honest.
I agree. It raises all sorts of ethical and philosophical questions.
Like, what happens to our sense of self if we can merge our minds with machines?
Or if we can create entire virtual worlds, what does that mean for the nature of reality?
And then there's the whole question of artificial intelligence. What happens when machines become conscious?
Will they have their own sense of meaning and purpose?
Will they even need us anymore?
It's a lot to ponder, isn't it?
It is, but it's also exciting. The future is full of possibilities.
And maybe, just maybe, some of these technologies will help us unlock even deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe.
Who knows? Maybe we'll even find the ultimate answer to the meaning of life.
Wouldn't that be something?
But even if we don't, I think the search itself is what matters.
Absolutely. The journey is the destination.
Well said. Well, folks, we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Time to come up for air.
It's been an amazing conversation.
I always enjoy exploring these big ideas with you.
And with all of you, our incredible listeners. We hope you've enjoyed the ride.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
What are your biggest takeaways from this episode?
What questions are you still grappling with?
Share your insights with us on social media.
Let's keep the conversation going.
I just want to give another shout out to Micky from Mickytolife. His channel is a treasure trove of inspiration, and he's a huge Sip&Talk fan.
Absolutely. Make sure to check him out and maybe even share your awesome podcast intro with him once you've created it.